Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a paid advertising. The Onlyground.com, Onlyground.com is one of the most amazing places for information that I consistently go to. If you guys want to have conversations about our old interviews or even topics that we don't discuss, the group of people that are on the Onlyground.com message boards are some of the most brilliant that I have ever come across. Those little like knick-knack facts that we get here and there, that's where a lot of it comes from. Please check out the link in the bio.
Welcome to the Lights Out Podcast. This is Chris Lights Out Lionel, and this is our journey to document the history of mixed martial arts. I have brought with me my friend, the MMA detective Mike Davis, and together we will preserve the history and hear some great stories from the world in the era of the no-holds-barred. Thank you and enjoy.
All right, so gentlemen, there's a lot of us in here. We got to take turns talking. I know it might be a little weird or awkward, but if we all talk at the same time, it's going to be a soup. And, you know, it's a year in review, so no rush. Joey, let's do it.
Welcome to the Lights Out MMA History Podcast 2024 Wrap-Up Extravaganza. I am Joey Venti, and today I'm here with the main players who make this show possible. We have the founding fossil of MMA himself, John Perretti, our producer, Tyson Green, our chief research assistant, Josh Campbell, and we have Andrew Mendoza, who takes care of our timestamps and archiving. And of course, the host of the show, Mike Davis. He is the MMA detective. I am Herb Dean's dog sitter. Welcome, everyone, to the 2024 Year in Review.
Gentlemen, we had a good year. We had a good year. Let me just kind of break it down. Tyson Green, he is the glue that keeps everybody together. Joshua Campbell, he and I think we met online. Joshua, do you go to the onlyground.com? Do you want to admit that or not? You should. If you don't, you should.
You're muted, Josh. You're muted, buddy.
Off to a good start.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on?
Josh, you ever go to the onlyground.com or no? Because if you don't, you should.
I have been there. I have been there a few times recently. I've tried to, find the time to devote to that, since the demise of the UG, but I'm not fully integrated yet.
Okay. Dude, phenomenal place to kind of bullshit like this. We got John Perretti, somebody we met Tyson this year, and I consider him a very, very good friend. Keeps me honest. I truly enjoy our friendship, John Perretti. We got Andrew Mendoza, all the timestamps and stuff like that we've got going on with the podcast. Andrew does it. I've even thrown in a couple last minute because of my travel schedule. Sometimes it's hard to maintain our schedule. Dude, Andrew has been dead nuts every single time. Joey Venti.
Just happy to be here.
Yeah, I mean, you should be shirtless, but, it is what it is. Joey, very, very good friend. Somebody who stepped up when I needed somebody to lean on. And, man, dude, it's like this group of people, although we've never been in the same room at one time, I've met all of you guys individually at one point or another. And, we've all met here. And you guys, we had a fantastic year, and you guys mean a lot to me.
Right back at you.
We're all happy to be here, man.
Okay, let's start this thing off right. John Perretti, go ahead, buddy. Your plugs.
And we thank you for your and stick-to-itiveness.
Got to do it. John Perretti, wait. The one time we will be in a room together, for sure one time. John Perretti, where are we going to be in August?
Well, hopefully you're going to be at the Silos in Houston for my one-man show, which is big. And I really hope you guys can all make it. It'd be heartfelt.
Well, dude, we got you. I mean, as long as Southwest Airlines flies to Houston from everybody's city, I should rack up enough frequent flyer points to get everybody covered. Or try.
Yeah.
It'll be close. But we'll figure it out. Why don't we start before we get into what we covered this year? Why don't we get into statistics? Tyson, you got anything for us?
Yes, I do. This year alone, we have added 53 episodes to our archive. And of those 53 episodes, those are only long format interviews, just alone. That is not including the shorts. So far this year, just in our watch time, we have over 24,000 hours. We have over 250,000 views, and the most hours viewed in a single video this entire year was episode 214. And that is with yours truly, John Perretti, the Contenders Deep Dive.
Dude.
And yes, that is our best one for the year.
And this is YouTube. This is only YouTube. Okay.
Correct. Just YouTube. And the most views we have in our short form clips was actually John Lober. And when we asked him if he respects Frank Shamrock, and he gave quite an answer, it was enough to resonate with the audience, we'll say. Now, most views for our long format this year was our episode 221 interview with Josh Barnett on his road to the UFC title. Highly recommend everyone to check that out if you haven't. Our second most views for the year, short format, is when Chris Lytle made it known that Nick Diaz almost made him quit MMA. That one's
an
still
old
going.
clip. That's an old clip that's
still going. Yep, still going. A long format for second is Gerald Stribben's career controversy in episode 204. And for the third most for the year, short format is Scott Ferozzo's clip of Tank Abbott in a backyard fight. And for the third most in the long form, also John Perretti in the Contenders episode 214 deep dive. So John's had been quite a hit here. And there's one thing that I'm very unhappy about. And you know what that is, Mike?
What's that, dude?
The vast majority of our viewers are not subscribed. And I've got a problem with that.
Dude. We just lost
personally.
another 100. We just lost another 100 YouTube subscribers.
I'm hurt. I'm legitimately hurt. So we would greatly appreciate everyone. We put a lot of work in this, and we're really happy to do so. This is a labor of love on so many levels. But if you guys can find it in your hearts to give us a subscription if you watch this, we would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hit the goddamn button. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, and we're giving a lot of hours. Just hit the button.
All right. So the Contenders. John Perretti, go ahead.
So I have a question. So what's preventing people from subscribing, Josh?
Tyson,
a single press of the button.
Or
I don't understand though. I mean, I mean, you're saying you lost 100 viewers.
We did.
Oh,
in the last 2 weeks.
It's various reasons that we can't understand. Some of it is YouTube things that YouTube does that no one really knows. It's strange. Sometimes comments disappear, subscribers go away, that type of thing.
Wow. So that's like a Dana White syndrome.
Exactly.
He could be behind this.
Haters. And I just turned 50. I'm still using the term haters. So, all right. So John Perretti, the Contenders episode. So prior to us even getting to know each other, what I had heard about you was that you're a recluse, you're completely off the grid, and you're living on a fishing boat in Japan. Those are the three things I heard. So I was kind of limited on my ability to research you prior, because Eddie Goldman took all of his old interviews down, and he's not real good at archiving. And when you came kind of back into the spotlight again, you did an interview with a guy that's got kind of like a vanilla MMA channel. And normally I don't listen to interviews from other people, because if anything repeats, I can look you in the eye and I can honestly say, hey, dude, it was organic. We went down the same path. I 100% took a peek at that interview. And it was somebody that was way over their head, didn't know the subject material, and you dressed them down. I was shocked. I was shocked that the guy even published it, because everything you said was very curt. direct and correct. And prior to us getting you, Joey and I game planned.
Yeah.
We 100% game planned.
We bought the book. Because one of his criticisms, he said, you need to read my book so you can interview me again intelligently. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Who said that? I said that?
You said that to the guy interviewing you. Yes.
Yeah, maybe. Well, yeah, maybe next time we interview, you'll do a little bit of research and actually know what you're talking about. And then you can ask me real questions.
That's
I'd like to give a promotion really quick just for John Perretti's book. I got myself a copy right here. Link will be in the description below the video, y'all. Check it out right down here. You will find it. It's on lulu.com. They make it for you. I got my hardback copy. Get yourself this book. You will like it.
Head under your arm to the opening.
That's
so,
it.
So John, I remember calling Joey and I'm like, holy fuck, this guy's angry. And like, he's, I go, this is going to be a live one. This is going to be a live one. And dude, our first initial meeting, it lived up to the hype. Like it was, we got a lot of fuck you coming our way out of you. And then the kind of the water settled.
See, I don't call it that way at all, Mike.
Joey?
You're a lot to contend with. We had to make it clear that we knew our shit and that we actually were fans back in the day and that we actually were knowledgeable about your contribution because you weren't going to be disrespected again by being interviewed by someone who didn't know shit.
No.
So
the only time that I was taken aback was when I found out that I was a police officer.
Well, here's the thing. All right. Whenever you do an interview, people that have command and understanding of good oration, they kind of have a set path and they run on a track. And you try to kind of get questions in, but they just plow right through them. And then they get to the finish line. And then it's, okay, all right, take care, guys. So, and I'm not saying you fall into that category, but there's certain little idiosyncrasies that people do who often give interviews. And our job is to kind of take them off that beaten path and even kind of disrupt like that process in order to get like a more slowed down, honest, and concise interview.
Were you happy with your performance?
I fucking loved it, dude. Are you kidding me?
That's important.
Yeah. And like, there was one point in the interview where I don't know if it was PTSD on your end from this last guy that interviewed you, but like you and I were kind of like button heads. And then I said, hey, what about your Russian guy? What do you know about what he's doing? And then I'm just like, you were silent and I wasn't going to talk and you weren't going to talk. And this silence is about 15 seconds where it's deafening and it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Well, if I don't know the answer to something, I don't comment as if I know.
Yeah. Good shit, dude. Good shit. So Josh is our resident researcher. You posed a question earlier. We had a debate. And John, I'm sure you'll chime in as well. When wrestling and jiu-jitsu finally leveled off, where wrestling kind of pulled ahead, where would you put that?
You're asking me that, Mike?
Correct.
Well, the Don Fry, Amari Bateshi fight, UFC 9, it was just this mauling, a college level wrestler such as Don Fry could, easily defending the dive in tackle by Amir Patesh. And, when you have that ability and you have, some good punching power, it's a hard night for a strictly jiu-jitsu guy.
I think people have figured that Royce Gracie system out by UFC 9. And with Tyson, let's do dates. Mario Sperry and Zinoviev. What came first, Zinoviev, Sperry?
That's my question.
Yeah. What came first, Sperry Zinoviev or like in UFC nomenclature? For sure, UFC 9. But Tyson, you got the dates?
Yes, I do. UFC 9 was, forgive me, May 17th, 1996.
And when was
So
Extreme?
so we were before that,
When was Extreme Fighting 1?
1995, right?
November 18th, correct. Yes, sir.
So
So
there you go.
I mean, Josh, so what you're saying, I'm in total disagreement with.
Well, it's Zinoviev Sperry, but
Oh, wait, but that's not an analogy to what you're saying. What you're saying is that, Josh, say it again, the jiu-jitsu versus wrestling, right? Go ahead.
I was just saying that that was probably the first big example of qualified example of a good wrestler defeating a great jiu-jitsu guy with, simple sprawling and punching techniques.
Yeah, just nullifying the takedown.
But Zinoviev Sperry happened prior.
See,
but they were on the ground a lot.
And Sperry was on top a lot.
And Zinoviev is losing on the ground.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's not his analogy. See, because Zinoviev's not a wrestler, right? Now, prior to UFC? I'm sorry,
9.
Prior to UFC 9, we have wrestlers beating jiu-jitsu guys, right?
In the contenders, was it Pederneiras?
Yeah, but we have real wrestlers, right? That the UFC never even saw, right? Like real guys, gold medalists and silver medalists. And
Mark Schultz.
Oh,
and they're beating jiu-jitsu guys.
Kevin Jackson and
stand-up guys. Before that, we have stand-up guys beating jiu-jitsu guys.
John Lewis and Carlson Gracie.
Perfect example of a mixed martial arts guy beating, well, it was a tie because I didn't allow judges, right? Beating a really prominent jiu-jitsu guy. So it happened before UFC 9, kids.
I think for the common person, because I mean, John, like you were so immersed in that world, like you're telling people truths that they need a couple years to digest and understand. Do you know what I mean? Like you were much further ahead than everybody else.
Well, I mean, I was suffering at the hands of Gene LaBelle and fighting with, world-class kickboxers, prior to that. So, I was getting knocked out before, jiu-jitsu guys were choking people unconscious.
It's interesting. It's absolutely interesting. So Tyson, how many watch hours for the year did we do?
We got 24,000.
It's not bad. And then like on iTunes, I shouldn't say iTunes. I should Apple, Google, and stuff like that. I think we did 50,000 downloads for the year. And then on Spotify, I think we did like 23,000. I say 50, it was probably just under. I say 23, we were just north of that. Dude, that's not a bad year.
No, it's not. And now keep in mind, as you've mentioned, our subscriber count has fluctuated drastically at about 2 or 3 different times this past year, as you remember. So our subscriber increase from the beginning of the year to now is of 796 is what YouTube claims to be.
What is it?
Were to take 796.
Sorry, increase.
Our increase. Okay.
Increase over the last year. If we were to take away these strange, massive drops that took place, it would have been closer to 1,500 to 2,000.
Yeah, like Joe Dorkson. Dude, we released a Joe Dorkson interview. Like, that's our audience. Like, our audience likes Joe Dorkson. We lost like 150 people.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Ukraine. There was no Russia. Yeah. There was no Middle East talk here. What happened?
It's weird.
Andrew Mendoza. So Andrew does our timestamps. Oftentimes people ask us, How do you guys know that? Like, I'm talking our guests, not just the audience. The audience knows, but the guests will go, how did you figure that out? And Andrew Mendoza, what we've done is we've kind of created a database. It's what you do for gangs. Like, let's just say there's like a Latin king or a gangster disciple that you're watching. You collect information about him and you put it all together. So like when you run into the guy, you can say, hey, dude, I know this little fact about you. Your dog's name is this. You drive that. When this person was killed, you were on this corner. And those little things right there, they open up conversation, and it's really, really helpful. And the way you do that is through a database. So what we've done is, my 2-year-old is making a mess. So what we've done is Andrew does the timestamps, and we create a database that we pull from. We add to and pull from. Andrew, how much time do you spend per episode?
So roughly whatever time the episode is. So sometimes we'll do like an hour 30. There is some that we've had that are 2 to 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So the way I do it is I always do the first 2 stamps, which is usually intro, guest introduction. We have had the Onlygrounds, so I threw that in there at the beginning now. So the way I do it, believe it or not, Mike, like, I know people are gonna think this is crazy, but I know your cadence so well to where like there's a specific breath or a specific like face gesture where I'm like, okay, topic's about to change. Let me write my stamp down because we're about to switch gears. So right then and there, I'll pull the notes up, and as soon as you say, so what? Let's talk about your 5th fight, March 19, 1990, whatever. Right then and there, look at the date. Oh, I already knew that. Okay, let's put that right there. And that's just how I do every single stamp. So when I first started, I was basically doing I was combing through every little like sentence you were saying, and I'm like, this is overkill. Let's get the bigger fish and make it happen. So that's how I do them now. So that's how I get those
Makes
done.
it easy. Well, you know, like in John Perretti, you're obviously in law enforcement like me, said, and I'm sure in a bunch of interviews. The key to doing an actual interview is like we've interviewed people who I don't like. Like I don't like them. And the key is when you ask your questions, you subtract yourself. So whatever information that they say, they put it out there. It's theirs and they own it. But you also subtract like your feelings on it. And I mean, every once in a while, you kind of got to breathe a little air into an interview by giving an opinion. But 90% is just a question where you kind of know where it's going to go, and you leave it alone afterward. John, you do that in your interviews as well, I'm assuming?
When I'm speaking to someone, it's usually a setup.
Yeah.
Because I already know the truth, and I know I can make them lie because they're going to get sticky.
Yeah.
And when you see it, you can see when it's sticky. So you don't have to have a record of pulling cars over and knowing people are lying to you. You can when they're sticky,
Yeah, you just kind of put it out there, let them cross that finish line, and then you just kind of pull the carpet. Well, you just kind of ease the carpet out, and yank it when the time is correct. Yeah, it's really how you got to go about it.
I think that's the way it is. But what he was saying is there's really important. I watched you also look down to change topic.
Okay.
Yeah, he's absolutely
That's
right.
his
Yeah, there's a cadence. Hit the nail on the head, both of them. Andrew and John are 100% right. When I was doing the timestamps as well, I would look for certain things that Mike would do, and then I'd know, yep, there's another one. There's another one.
Yeah,
and that's how I always do.
It helps keep everything organized, though. Like it really does. And Joey, sometimes what we'll do is Joey will do a finger, like you saw Perretti do it. It's just we're on Zoom, and like if we're all in the same room, it's so much easier to communicate just through feeling and sight and breathing. But when you're on Zoom, it's different, man. And especially like the X factor of the person that's new, the guest.
I think that's really important. And even as a color commentator, I remember I used to always have to coach Blatnick. So I always put my arm around him. So I'd have my arm around him. So when he just keeps fucking talking, I start tapping him on the shoulder so he can look over and realize that I'm going to interject.
Yeah.
But that's the way to control, someone who had, verbal diarrhea.
Yeah. Yeah. And also heading into it, like John, obviously you've sat in almost a dozen interviews this year. We'll share our notes before we go in, and like sometimes we'll asterisk or we'll just give somebody a heads up. Here's the hot spot. Let's not bring it up early. If they try to bring it up early, just wait because we want to get them comfortable. And then when the time is right, this is kind of like where we want to hammer it. Like a really good example of that, Gerald Strebent. And oh my God, Gerald Strebent. All right. A documentarian contacted me, John Oliver is his name. And I think in the next 3 weeks, they're making an announcement in regards to that Rafiel Torre situation. Ooh. And I think it's going to get some decent distribution. They're going to be using a lot of our interviews, which is good.
Awesome.
Now, if you want to hear an interview where somebody got the carpet pulled out from underneath them and it was kind of like a little too late and they couldn't back out, but dude, they were completely honest the entire time. Darrick Minner. That Darrick Minner interview where the accusation of fight fixing with the UFC, he and I have a mutual friend who sat in, Victor J. And it was like, dude, we'll touch on it briefly. You can talk about it, but we won't really push. But then when I started looking into it, I'm like, dude, this isn't true. Like what he's being accused of, no matter what he says, it's not going to get brought home enough to where he didn't fix a fight. He went into a fight injured because he was broke. There's a big difference between, going in compromised and going and knowing you're going to lose and saying, fuck it, dude, I'm fixing the fight and throwing money on this. The way that thing, dude, people from Omaha, we've been turned down 3 different people. They're like, nah, dude, we heard that interview. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. You did the right thing. But you're not fucking digging through my past like that. Fuck no. They're like, it was like, fuck no. I listen to your shit, but I ain't coming on.
Well, I got a lot of that as feedback too. Lewis said that.
Lewis? What do you mean?
There were others that said that, that they were not going to go on your show until I decided to put some pressure.
And thank you for that.
You have to understand, I never asked anything of any of these people in my life until I started asking them to be on your show.
That's cool. Here, would you mind if I give a couple names? Let's see. We got Perretti, and then we got John Lewis, Carlos Newton,
John Lober,
Igor Zinoviev. Yeah, Lober, the reason we got Lober, even though you didn't sit in, it was because of you. For sure, it was because of you. Who else did we get with you? We got Carlos Newton, Igor Zinoviev. Dude, we got fucking Igor Zinoviev. And I got my picture with him when I was in Miami.
We had
Zinoviev.
He did a couple of episodes.
Yeah,
Newton,
he did.
Zinoviev, John Lewis. Dude, John Lewis is impossible. No one's getting John Lewis. No one's getting Zinoviev. And even Carlos Newton doesn't want to do interviews. He's like, I don't want to do them.
With John?
Yeah, and the list is still there. I mean, that you haven't approached. I mean, I still want to do Maurice Smith.
Dude, Mo Smith.
Said he will do it. All these guys want to do an interview with me. They have things. I really look at it very differently, because if you ask the right questions, I'm an open book, and other people are very close, and don't want to be on your show.
Hey, we tried to get John Lewis for a year. We even had John Lewis's son's wrestling coach working with us at the time, and we still couldn't get him until you put the call in.
Yeah.
So thank you for that one.
Well, again, I never asked him for anything. Oh, and by the way, John Lewis got promoted to.
You gotta go a little closer, John. A little closer to the microphone.
John Lewis got promoted to black belt for my system. So, and now Zenobia got his 3rd degree.
That's right. So what we probably shouldn't admit is some of these people, like we go through, there was a guy that used to help us out on the show, a really good friend of Andrew and Joey. He would access phone numbers. I don't know how he did it. I never asked, but he got us phone numbers that we weren't supposed to have. And Zinoviev's number, like no matter how many times he looked it up, it was always like something different, and it was never the right number. So like Zinoviev was like a legit impossible find.
Well, I mean, he's had the same telephone number for 20 years.
It's not listed in any of those. You know what? Maybe people don't have a list. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
I still speak to him once a month after all the time,
That's cool. That's cool. Another couple of standout interviews. KJ Nunes. We got KJ Nunes from Tim Ford, a San Diego musician. Timmy Ford is what he goes by. Super cool cat, Tim Ford. Got us KJ Nunes, dude. And KJ said, "Yeah, I'm not doing any more interviews, dude. I'm done with this shit." I mean, that was another good one.
I just want to throw this out there. We're pretty notorious for doing a lot of people's last interviews.
I was just about to make that comment, Andrew. So please continue on with that.
We turn them off?
No. So for instance, Phil Baroni's one that we got, before all of the things happened. KJ Nunes. Yeah, exactly. That too. I can't think of any more off the top, but that's something I wanted to throw out there.
But Andrew, what do you attribute that to?
Mike being a dick.
Mental illness. Yeah. Being mentally ill.
I think we're just we're getting diamonds in the rough with these interviews. Some of these interviews seem like just things that you'll never get. The Carlos Newton one, that was the first one I ever requested to get. And I always thought, man, this isn't going to happen. And then we stumbled across it. And, that's one of those interviews that wasn't supposed to happen, but it did.
Yeah. So Andrew sent messages before he and I ever talked going, "Hey, dude, you don't think about Carlos Newton?" And my response to him is, "Yeah, I've asked him like 5 times. And like, I think I had his phone number. No. I called him through
I called him through
Messenger once, and he picked up. And he's like, "Yeah, I got no interest, dude. Yeah, I know. I got your emails. I just, not interested." Like, fuck. I mean, is what it is. Yeah. Donald Zuckerman was a good one.
That's an important interview.
Yeah.
James Wormy was not an important interview, but still.
Oh, here. So sometimes relationships are lost. Do you still talk to James Wormy, John?
James Wormy does not speak to me anymore, and James Wormy was vying for a position to do a podcast with me. So I don't know what happened to James Wormy. He's somewhere in his own private Puerto Rico right now. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's doing.
So Joey, one of the things that I've experienced, if you look in the Jay Ellis comments, that Jay Ellis interview, okay, so we'll call it 300 on YouTube. We'll call it maybe like another 350 on between Spotify and Apple and stuff like that. So you're talking like under 1,000 people, but it's like all industry people.
Right.
Look at the comment. Henry Matamoros jumped on there going, "The guy trained with me for free. I never took any money. The promoters would call me. I fought for very little money as well," because Jay Ellis accused him. And dude, it did happen to him. And I don't think Henry did it, but definitely other people did, where they would book Jay for one price and Jay would get a different price. But then I also got a text message from a person from the Northeast, and they said, hey, man, that Jay Ellis guy, I'm going to edit a little bit. I've had some dealings with him, and I'll tell you this. He would get a check from a promoter, and then within 5 minutes say, hey, man, I got to fight this weekend, or I got to get home, or I got to pay this. Can you just cash this out? And they would give him cash. But between him receiving the check and him giving the check back, he would auto deposit it through an app on his phone, and it would take months for the promoter to catch it.
Oh, he's gone.
Wow.
And I'm like, I respect that.
You respect that?
I respect that.
I thought you were a Law and Order guy.
Hey, dude, I am, but sometimes there's gray area and bend, and Jay Ellis is coming in to take an L. Pay that man.
Yeah.
So at one end, I got Henry Matamoros, who I really respect a lot. Like, he's phenomenal human being. He's in there defending himself. And then I'm getting text messages like that. It's like every episode, not every episode, but one episode a month we get shit like that. And it's fucking fantastic. I enjoy that.
There's one thing I'd like to make mention of, Mike. We also seem to I know there's more than this one, but this is the only one that came to mind, is last interview of people before they pass away. Art Jimmerson was one that passed away this year. There may have been another. I'm not recalling off the top of my head this year, but that also happened. So R.I.P. Art Jimmerson.
One of the best parts about being a part of this podcast was that I got to become friends with Art Jimmerson. We only interviewed him once. It was for an hour and a half, but that man would text me 5 times a week just to let me know he's praying for me and that he's glad we're friends. That was one of the first. That was one of the first interviews I brought in. I kind of tricked him into agreeing to it by asking him what his rate was for an hour-long private session. And once he opened up a hole in his schedule for me, I said, "Hey, man, to make it easy on you, why don't you just talk to us for that hour instead of having to hold the mitts for me?" And that's how we got him in there. And he got us Zane Frazier. He got us quite a few. Gerard Gordeau.
He helped us with Gordeau. He did help us with Gordeau.
A lot of good guys, and man, it was an honor to be that man's friend.
And go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
And Mike, that guy.
Well, John Perretti, what'd you say?
Mike loves Gordeau.
I do love Gordeau.
Yeah,
I do. Josh?
We didn't interview him, but Taylor Tooley,
yes,
UFC 1 veteran as well, also passed away this year. So rest in peace, RJ.
Oh, okay.
We were supposed to interview him, but his long COVID, he didn't feel up to it. I spoke with him and his wife on the phone a couple of times, and we were very close to getting him on the month we did all the UFC 1 guys, but we just couldn't make it happen, unfortunately.
And dude, I mean, he's gone right now, but one of the things, like when Joey called me up, was like his phone kept getting disconnected.
Yeah.
Like some of the issue with some of these guys is that their phone becomes disconnected and you can't reach them. And I think Tooley needed $50 to keep his phone on.
Yep.
Yeah. Misses. Let's talk about some of the misses this year. Benji Radach also passed away, and we had him lined up about 4 or 5 times where it would be like, yeah, dude, I got you. You know, for sure. I confirm. I shoot him a text, thumbs up. 15 minutes later, here's the link. I'm sitting there for 20 minutes. I give him a call. Oh, fuck, dude, I'm on my way to the store right now, man. Dude, just give me like 30 minutes. And like he wasn't lying. Like the mental issues he was having in regards to like his memory, it was very, very, very real. It was very, very real. Dennis Hallman said that he was Benji would put a trail cam in his car because he thought like a monster or some sort of ape creature was breaking into his car because he was finding hairs in it. could have been from a dog. Who
Right.
knows? Who knows? Like he was struggling big time. Dude. What's that, John? Yeah. That was a hard one. Like I really wanted him as well. John Dixon, we got Sam Hoger was a good one.
He was good.
Chris Camozzi was good. Our first current champion, Chris Camozzi. Mark Robinson, the sumo interview was fantastic. We did some good shit this year, dude. I thought dude, you know what really kind of flopped? But it's a phenomenal interview. Layman Brewster.
Yes. That was interesting just getting to talk to him. That was a lot of fun.
Numbers wise,
he's a boxer. He's a boxer. Our audience, they're MMA fans.
Yeah.
We got Babalu this year.
Wow, that was an old one. I was sitting on. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Mario Sperry, we got from nick.com. Super cool cat. Guy flies all over the country doing privates with people. In fact, I'm going to hook him up with Eager next time he goes down. Get Eager a couple private lessons through this guy next time he's in Miami. Dennis King got us Lusau. That was a good get. Luke Kumo was a good one. And dude, we also did Jonathan Ivey. Gave him some respect. Jeff Coran was fun. Valentin Overeem. I thought Overeem may have given us the best interview for the year. Him, Darrick Minner, Gerald Strebent, they're all in that category.
The way he responded to the questions you asked him about the fixing of the fights was classic. I thought it was great.
He took us like a year and a half to get. Like some of these guys, it's like Keith Hackney. We're going to get Keith Hackney. We're going to get Brandon Vera. It's just every once in a while I got a Gleason T-Bow is the same way. I've already got it prepared. They respond. Eventually, we're just going to catch them. Like, dude, if you look at me in the Overeem interview, I'm in the shower. Like, I shoot him a message. I'm in the shower. I take a real hot shower. I hear my phone go off, and I'm like, fuck, that might be him. It was. I ran out of my shower, dude. I was still wiping water off because we wouldn't have gotten it otherwise. If I said, 20 minutes, we wouldn't have gotten it. Kohler was
we got
good.
Oleg Taktarov, second time, I believe.
All right, dude. Here's the thing with Oleg. Oleg called me up. I'm in California. I'm on my way to Cuba to shoot the movie. I'm like, oh, cool. Oleg sounds good, dude. And he goes, I need to talk to you about business. I'm like, fuck. You know what I mean? How much money am I sending you? You know what I mean? It's kind of like one of those situations. And he goes, you know the doctor, the promoter for the Mars event that he claims he was drugged on. I'm like, fuck yeah, I could find that guy.
John Keating.
I'm like, huh?
John Keating.
Thank you. He's like, he drugged me. I don't forget he drugged me.
He was very convinced of that. Yes.
I think he's going to go visit him.
Totally.
Oh.
I totally buy it.
That Keating would drug him?
I mean, I know John Keating until he divorced me, but he started his own show and stole a couple of my people. But
that
yeah.
Oleg would visit him, or that he is capable of what Oleg is saying, allegedly.
I mean, John Keating was the doctor for me.
Okay. We'll skip that question.
A multiplicity of people. So, but he has a lot of backstabbery in him. So
I tried to get him on a podcast. Like I was
that show.
I talked to his secretary. Not secretary, whoever his reception is. I've called John a few times trying to get him.
So just as an excerpt, he had this guy who embezzled about $3 million from him, and who claimed to be a brown belt from Hoist Gracie, and every time we would, in his mat room downstairs, that I would do seminars and bring some in, and the guy would never roll with me, and I started like looking at him, kind of funny, and he And then he told me he was a Navy SEAL.
It gets, and did he register his hands? Go ahead, John.
Excuse me. And got on the phone and called somebody who I used to train Navy SEALs in New York City. So I called somebody and I said, hey, can you check on this guy for me? And they said, yeah. They called me back in about 5 minutes. He goes, not only was he not a SEAL, he was never in the Navy.
Wow.
So I talked to John and I said, listen, man, you got to be careful. This guy is completely full of shit. Oh, no, he's not full of shit. You know, he's a jiu-jitsu, this and that. I mean, I said, yeah, well, let him fucking roll with me next time. Let's watch him fucking suffer, you know, because he's full of shit, John. Be careful, right? Sure enough, he embezzled like $3 to $5 million from John Keating and ended up going to jail. He's dead now. But I warned John. And, you know, and what I got back from him was backstabbery.
I'll tell you another conversation for interview of the year, Roland Sarria. So he's a promoter out of Arizona. That guy was dropping dimes, man. Like, I mean, there was so much. One, he got no one's name right. So like the comment section on that video is them correcting like the names that he was like mispronouncing, and which dude, I love that. To me, I enjoy that. But he also cleared up like Richard Hamilton, the witness protection trainer of Dan Severn, real good friend of Dan Severn. That's also a child sex predator, one of the few that Dan Severn had in his life. And Richard Hamilton, and dude, Sarria is legit. He got his purple belt under Hickson, and he got his black belt under some nefarious ways. But the dude is legit. Like, he knows his stuff. And he was saying Richard Hamilton 100% knew what he was like teaching. So like that Mark Kerr, the Dan Severn, the Don Fry, the Mark Coleman, all of those early wrestler savages are all products of his system.
Wow.
Were they products of his system, or did he just know how to pick a good racehorse?
I think probably, you know what, dude? Probably more racehorse than anything.
I think he picked a good racehorse. That's my opinion.
Yeah, but actually, of that little ilk, who are the good racers?
Who are the good ones? John, you got to get closer to your mic, John.
Mark Kerr. I mean, Mark Kerr was dominant until he wasn't. Mark Coleman was dominant until he wasn't.
Yeah, Mark Kerr's an Abu Dhabi Hall of Famer.
Don Fry, right? Wasn't he? Didn't he have Don Fry?
This then, so. And then Don Fry, and then the big Dan Severn, who didn't have a finishing hold in his entire body.
Dude, you know, and like people talk about like Tim Sylvia being like the dark era for like the UFC. To me, it's Severn. Like horribly could cut promos.
Right.
Couldn't finish anybody. Like to open hand slap. You know, very prone to fixed fights.
You know, I told Bob Meyerowitz. I said, he's like, oh, we're gonna bring Dan back. I said, Dan who? He said, Dan Severn. And I was like, Bob, are you fucking crazy? I said, the world has changed in the last 6 months since I got here. He's not going to last an angry minute out there. And he's like, well, who are you going to match him against? I said, even if I told you who I'm going to match him against, you wouldn't know who they were. So I'll give him a top 20 fighter. And I gave him Pedro Izzo, right? Who and who's a wonderful, you know, kickboxer, and, you know, had a really heavy leg. Trust me on that.
Yeah.
Right?
But before you insult,
he was in slow motion across the ring and missed him and crashed into a corner. You know, I mean, basically the fight was over as soon as he got in the ring.
Wait, repeat that, John. I cut you off. I apologize. Repeat that last part.
What I'm saying is that the fight that ensued was exactly what I told Meyerowitz was going to happen. And I was on the mic, and then who was the commentator? What's his name? Working with.
Was that Blotnick?
No.
Jeff Osborne?
No.
Mike Goldberg?
Yeah. So Mike said, oh, but, you know, like but Dan Severn, I mean, he's our champion. And I said, hey, listen, I didn't pick him for this fight. And they go, but he was a champion. And I was like, man, the guy doesn't have a finishing hold in his entire body. I said, this is not going to be a good fight. And there it was, right in front of me.
All right. So Freddie Rodriguez claimed that it was a worked fight, not worked in the terms of like prior, but Dan went in there to collect a check and get out. Like he had no intent on fighting.
Well, you could see he couldn't even get across the ring. He was in slow motion. But let me tell you what happened after the fight.
Oh.
Dan and his wife, was it?
Becky Levi was not his wife.
Okay, whoever that was, they both threatened my life.
That's Becky Levi. That's not Dan's wife. Yeah.
And so Dan threatened my life because of the things I said on the air about him, which were all absolutely accurate and true.
So Becky Levi was an Olympic softball player, and she was kind of like Dan's muscle on the independent grind. Like they promoted this show called Danger Zone. And Becky would talk to you in a way to where like nobody wanted to deal with her because they were just like afraid of her. It was just real loud talking in your face. Joey, kind of like what you guys Italians would call it friendly conversation,
right?
Amongst drinks, like at a bar, like Italians would do at a bar. And Becky was very, very difficult to deal with and was kind of like the bag woman for Dan. Like Dan could be the nice guy, and he would just sick his pit bull on you, and it was Becky. So I believe that.
Well, she never got in my face, but the point is that they were literally threatening my life for what they said. And just to the record, Aventi is just an Neapolitan, so neither of us are.
We both agree. Can we all agree that Italians like to argue?
No, we just talk loud
And
shout talking.
Argue.
Yeah. So in Greeks, and let's not talk about Armenians. We will not talk about Armenians.
Don't talk about Armenians to Russians.
A couple interviews that we got down that we're waiting for. I think Nate Marquardt. So Nate Marquardt is on a religious retreat in Myanmar. And Myanmar is in a civil war right now. It's completely locked down, where the war is being fought with 3D printed weaponry. And I'm not going to say any government agency should go to anybody's house here, but let's just say he's got his hands on his knees. Well, there we go. But Nate is there preaching the word of Jesus Christ and absolutely dedicated to it. And we connected through a couple friends. The issue is it's like, the time difference. The time difference between here and Myanmar is 12 and a half hours.
Oh.
It's weird. Like it's literally 12 and a half hours where he's at. And the time frame that he's got to open up like before his like religious group starts is like it's going to have me up at like 3:30, 3:45 my time. Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just the rubber's got to meet the road.
Which means I got to get up at 1:45. All right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
It's a good night of drinking for you.
Yep.
Andrew Mendoza and I are talking about doing maybe like a little BKFC interview once or twice a month for like a Thursday drop. Andrew is a big BKFC fan, and I think there's a lot of interesting people over there character-wise right now. Like in the first like 3 or 4 UFC, John Perretti, you refer to that as the purposeful mismatch era of the UFC. But there was a lot of cartoon character type personalities at that time, of which we enjoy. And BKFC does not have that purposeful mismatch, but in its time period right now, there's a lot of big and interesting personalities. And Andrew Mendoza and I are going to throw one out every once in a while. Is that right, Andrew?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Get some exposure for some of the fighters, and you never know if somebody might get interested in that sport as well.
Yeah. Sergio Batarelli, John Perretti. What kind of dealings did you have with him?
A very brief. I went to a lot of his fights in Brazil, where really, really handsome 18, 19, 20-year-olds got all their teeth knocked out of their face. I thought that, he was basically a pimp. As a martial artist, he was just a bodybuilder. That's my opinion. The Japanese loved him. I never, exchanged bad words with him. I never, I'm really I was never a confrontational person. So, I did what I had to do and looked for fighters and looked for talent, and he promoted shows. That's all I know about him.
Yeah, we did like an early interview where him and it was Batarelli. Was it a WVC? And then he went to IVC. So we did like a brief interview with him. Actually, it's about a 2-hour interview. I think we're going to revisit him as well, for a little bit more of the kind of those Brazilian stories, like Ebenezer Praga.
He also, did fake fights. So I
do you have an example of that?
I mean, I can see them. I don't know who these people are, but one of you guys can figure that out. But yeah, he did some fake fights. He proceeded to say that they were real. So I always have a problem with people doing that kind of shit.
Is this in the IVC?
Was that his organization?
Well, you say that you saw 19-year-old kids get their teeth rearranged. So I think that's true.
Absolutely.
There's no question about it. But I think, to put it in its proper context, Josh, I think you and I were real big fans of this back in the day. It's essentially no holds barred MMA. It's headbutts, yes. Soccer kicks to the head, yes. Elbows, yes.
Yeah, and referees, well, the UFC is guilty of this also, but referees who look the other way.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is.
Well, but when you don't have stoppages, and people get really hurt, it's not to please the crowd all the time.
I refereed a match in Mexico once, and the promoter there would yell at me first off, the matches sucked. Like, they were all fucking done in like less than a minute. They were horrible. It was horrible. And I remember them coming telling me, like, dude, you're stopping these too early. And I'm like, I don't think I am, man. And they'd show me the replay. And in the replay, they would look at me and they'd go, and they were right on the replay. But then I would say, would you mind backing it up 4 or 5 more seconds? At which point the guy's tapping. Like, you see the guy tapping that's not included in the replay. And then I'm like, because, oftentimes the guys, they were just taking like a punch or two and then leaving. They were just tapping out. And I would like let him get some socks in. It wasn't anything dangerous, but I'm like, what the fuck? You're not getting punched once and falling and tapping. Like, dude, there's a tax to pay. We got 4,000 or 5,000 people here. Fuck that. There was some entertainment value, but they would like essentially wouldn't want me to stop it even 5 seconds after a tap took place.
King of the Cage is guilty of that too, for sure.
Well, I'm guilty of that also. I mean, Boss Rutan tells a true story.
Yeah, it's on our podcast. Yeah.
At the Boss Rutan Invitational, where I was the referee at my show, the Boss Rutan Invitational. I'm sorry. And he tells a true story of that I did because a corner wouldn't listen to me, and when I decided to stop a fight with Ron Waterman, because the guy who he was up against, I mean, I could have beaten him. So it's a true story, and I intentionally did that. And so I'm guilty of it also.
You mean you just let it go too long?
Yeah, you see, too long is kind of, Joey, that's kind of like, sometimes there's a rite of passage into manhood, and like, you gotta cross that threshold, and I'm not saying like life-changing shit, but sometimes you gotta get cracked. John, go ahead.
I mean, you'd have to interview Ron Waterman, but I mean, he didn't actually see what I was doing, but I told him because there was a matter of muppets, and the corner really went fucking nuts because I stopped the fight to save this guy's life, and then I restarted the fight because they put such a protest out, and I said, "All right, fucking do what you want," and I basically walked around the ring and looked at the crowd and the like.
Ron Waterman could put it on you too. It's a very, very large human being.
He wasn't just large. He was actually strong. Yes. Not all big guys are strong. He was very strong. And the other thing about Ron Waterman that people don't understand is that he had a trait that was rare. He was coachable. And there's two kinds of people out there. There's coachable and uncoachable.
Well, John, I think one of the interesting things about Ron Waterman too is his character. Like Phyllis Lee, who is interesting in her own right in regards to like her background, growing up as a carny, doing professional wrestling in a circus, going from city to city, was also the main hookup for Pancrase and other shows in Japan. She used to sing his praises. The only guy that never screwed me over was Ron Waterman.
Actually, you had that voice pretty good. Phyllis was a dear friend of mine in her time, and I did everything I could for her. And Ron was a really good guy, but he was also coachable. He wanted to learn. Another coachable guy was Mark Kerr. Mark Kerr wanted to learn. When you see like Boss trying to teach Mark how to kick, a lot of guys tried to learn how to kick. I always say this, and I probably said it on the show here, but you can take a world-class stand-up fighter and turn him into a world-class grappler. I'm proof of that. You can do that, but you can't take a world-class grappler and turn him into a stand-up fighter. It's impossible because they don't have their feet underneath them. They don't understand what very coachable to start to do that, and Waterman was coachable and Kerr was coachable.
Have we interviewed Waterman?
We haven't. I think I might have his phone number. He'd be a good one. Here's some of the people that
he's a fire captain, so I will make an attempt, see if we can get him.
6 seconds.
Do you know who else? Mac Danzig is going to be good to go. Pete Spratt, I think we're going to do on Saturday. I think I got Pete Spratt on Saturday. On Sunday, I'm going to try to grab like a Gleason T-Bow, or I'll grab some. I'm going to try to get some. I'm trying to get like 2 or 3 ahead because I'm going like week to week, and that's dangerous. Like I'm trying to get like 3 to 4 weeks ahead. Pete Spratt's good to go. Got his phone number. Mac Danzig is good to go. Got his phone number. I just got to do the research. Andre Benke is good to go. I got to tie him down. Did you ever deal with Andre, John? I don't think so.
Who?
Andre Benke.
It doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, he came after you. He was a strength and conditioning coach for the American Top Team. He's got like 3 or 4 UFC gyms in the Florida area right now. Good storyteller. Dennis Kang's corner when Dennis had his issue with Paulo Filo. After he leaves Dennis Kang in American Top Team, he's cornering Paulo Filo. There's a couple controversies. We're going to talk to him that he might have knowledge of. So that'll be a good interview. Do you know who else came through real good too? Joe Pardo.
Yes. LA guy. Yep.
In fact,
although one big disappointment, he has not yet secured us John Marsh, but we're working on it.
All right. So go ahead, John Perretti.
I have my phone. I'm not hooked up, and I only have 4%. So I think I'm going to have to sign off, gentlemen.
John Perretti.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.
I can't wait to meet you in August, dude. One more time.
I can't wait to put my hands on you.
Oh, John, I'm going to put my hands probably in the back of your pants, dude. I'm going to grab them cakes, buddy.
Oh my God.
Tyson, you're going to want to edit this, please.
I said it.
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure as always. Thank you so much.
Love you, brother. Love you, brother. I'll be in touch,
Good to
man.
see you.
God, I love that guy, man. He's interesting cat. Interesting cat. Let me make sure he's out of the room. There we go. There we go. He's good. Now we're good to go. Yeah, dude, I love Perretti.
I'm sorry he's gone because I wanted to say one thing before he left, which is 2025. We've got an idea that John Perretti signed off on. Now, this is a time capsule. This guy hasn't watched MMA since the 90s, and he wants to watch modern fights with us that we've selected, and then we tape his response to it, and we talk to him through the fight.
Yeah.
I think that's an idea. It's a card we haven't played, and we need to.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Oh, and then, Tyson, I think another thing in regards to statistics, our Instagram has grown.
Yes. Our Instagram has grown tremendously. We have an individual in Scotland named Andy. He has solely single-handedly grown the Instagram far more than I ever could have. I cannot give him enough credit. The guy is always available to help in some way, shape, or form if it's ever needed. Andy, thank you from everyone here in the Lights Out podcast team. I know the audience feels the same way, brother.
Yeah, so all of our shorts on YouTube come from Andy Campbell. Martial Mindset is his page. So when we first met Andy, he's a Scottish guy, so he's super polite. Probably drinking whenever.
Unless you piss him off.
Yeah. And he's like, man, I've been listening to your podcast for a minute now. When are you moving into a studio? Like, when is the studio move happening? And I'm like, oh, fuck, this guy. Oh, well, yeah, we're working on it right now. It's something we're piecing together. And he's got an Instagram page called Martial Mindset where he kind of takes from everybody else and he puts it out there, and he's growing it to like about 100,000 people. And he's done a really good job with it. And, his response to me is, dude, I'm a novice editor. I want to get this thing done. And the reason that he's kind of disappointed with Martial Mindset is because he's got to take from other people's content rather than creating content of his own. And we're a content-based heavy podcast, and it would, he for sure could grow this so much faster than his own. He's given us a year for free, for $0, like 8 edits. And this guy's got 2 children. He's got a wife. He's given us so many edits with like the words on it and the different colors and the, blending in of the guys fighting on top of, what's being said. He's not about to quit, but I will say he's incredibly discouraged. It's like we're sitting here going, holy fuck, we finally got 1,000 actual people, like real people. And he's like, dude, it should be like 10x this. He's like, this is ridiculous. This is fucking ridiculous. And he's like, look at your engagements in your comments. He's like, your engagements matches somebody that's already got 10 and 15,000 people on it. And you guys have got like 1,000. He's like, your engagements for your numbers don't add up. They're so much higher. Like there's something going on here. And I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Mike, you just got to get vaccinated, all right? That's why they're blocking us.
Dude, I tell you what, any CEO of any of these big companies want to come to my house, I will protect them and love them. Yeah. That was sincere. So that's what the fuck we got going on. Who do you guys think interview of the year was?
Rich Chou.
Oh, fuck.
Oh.
So, did you care to expand on Rich Chou?
Well, he spends the majority of the interview talking about all the plans he's made for the underground forum, mixedmartialarts.com. And within a matter of months later, the whole forum was decimated. Now it's just sort of a zombie.
So the underground forum, which is where I used to go for information, bullshit with people, bust balls, dude. It was a phenomenal place to just argue about old school MMA with fucking people just as mentally ill as everybody listening to this podcast is. And Rich swore to us he wasn't gonna go crazy with it. It was circling the drain. He's Captain Save-A-Ho. He's here to fucking swoop in and make sure everything's good. And then he put AI bots in charge of censorship. So, like, if you were to write Buttercup because it's got butt in there, it wouldn't let you type it.
Huh.
I'm glad you pointed that one out, Josh. Big deal right there.
Yeah, it really was. And dude, I'm torn on it because it's either Rich intentionally screwed everybody, which it's hard for me to believe that, or Rich is in deep shit because of, dude, whether it's heavy racial shit, heavy anti-Semitic stuff, it was free speech. Like, all of that's on there. And, most of the accounts are anonymous. But if you sifted through that and just kind of ignored it because, I got thick skin, I laugh about my own race. So because I'm able to laugh about my own race, I also laugh about other people's races as long as it's funny and not mean. So, because I have that ability, that other kind of noise, that other white noise, it's pretty easy to ignore. As long as you're not just like a big sensitive pussy that's always looking to get like offended on something. So essentially what Rich did, it's one of the most important documents in regards to like history of mixed martial arts and its growth, probably in existence online, and he ruined it. He ruined it. And that's a fact. And either Rich is in deep shit because of everything that was said there, and he's in trouble and having to answer to, people that pay the bills, or it's intentional. I'd like to think it's the first example rather than the latter. But yeah. Tyson?
No, I was just going to say, I thought it was quite interesting how that the video we made addressing that particular situation pretty much got no traction whatsoever.
Yeah. Tyson, what was your favorite interview?
Guest.
My favorite guest, I should say. Favorite guest.
Favorite guest this year.
You and Perretti got tight.
Yeah, I'd have to say John, man. Yeah, John and I have become. I hesitate to say the word friends because I'm scared he might try to beat me up when he sees me. He might want to put hands on me too, but I respect him, and I'd like to think he thinks the same about me.
Yeah.
He will try to inflict some pain on you if you do step on the mats with him. I will attest to that.
I'll take it as a good thing.
I did John's seminar, and I swear to God, it was 7 hours. It was 7 hours of training with John.
Joey, how long have you been rolling for?
30 years, 33 years. So
Joey calls me up and he's like, dude, I've never been in a seminar this long before. He's like, I had to have actual water breaks. Yeah, during this seminar, like actual water breaks, not because like I. So anyway, he goes, let me tell you about Perretti. He's got some tricks.
He does.
Like he got your respect.
Oh yeah, no, he knows his shit. That's for sure. I was a little disappointed. They canceled the seminar before we got to do any live rolling, so I didn't get to live roll. But he did use me as his guinea pig, just like his master Gene LaBelle would really get off on inflicting pain during demonstrations, and then telling the class, "Don't worry, I'm okay." After his subject is the one going, ah. So
Andrew,
it was fun because I trained a lot with LaBelle, like around 2000. So it was kind of nice to get a slice of that training with one of his proteges.
Andrew, favorite guest?
I don't know if I have a favorite guest. I like all of them. Some notable ones: Miguel Torres, Josh Barnett.
Miguel Torres got an alarmingly large amount of viewers. Like
Yeah,
that
I like
guy,
that interview.
he still moves the needle. That guy still moves the needle.
Yeah. Another one too is, I mean, everything that has the extreme battlecade, anything with John Perretti, I like listening to them, but I like when you and him will have that, how do I put it? When you try to tell him something, he's like, "You're wrong, Mike. You're actually wrong on that."
Yeah.
Like when he tries to correct you, those are just, man, I just can't stop laughing when I hear it.
Yeah, I like that. Joey?
I liked Lober a lot. Now I'm biased because I'm definitely going to pick an interview that I was in on, but the Lober one was really good. Jeremy Horn, awesome. I only got to jump on the last 20 minutes of that one, but that was a great interview.
You know, Salt Lake City is a pretty cheap flight for you guys coming from LA. Horn is at all of those, man, and he's asked to go to dinner or lunch on more than one occasion with anybody from the show.
That would be cool.
Yeah, Horn would be good. I liked Jorge Santiago. We kind of got to the part where we lead into the Black Zillions. Jorge Santiago was a good one. I also like Gary Marino, the promoter from the Northeast. His was cool, talking about John Jones breaking his heart and shit. Mm-hmm. That was cool. Court McGee was a good one. Dorkson was a good one. Dorkson went for 2.5 hours with Dorkson, dude.
Yeah, he was great.
Serrano was fun. Adrian Serrano. All right, dude. You know who Joe Moriera. We started the year with Joe Moriera. That was a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who Tim Catalfo, Abaki, was our second interview in January? I can't tell you how many people contacted me about that guy afterward.
What'd they have to say?
Well, I'll start with Mark Robinson, who we got afterward. And I mean, if you listen to Mark Robinson, when I asked about Obaki, he's like, certain people are good for certain things. He's not really good with telling the truth. It's like he's got money in one hand and the other hand in your pocket. And he pretty much just said, the guy paid for my visa to bring me up here, of which Catalfo says, yeah, I got him his visa up here. He's like, but then he disappeared. I didn't have a place to stay. I am here with my wife. Dude, that Mark Robinson was a good friggin' interview, especially the Abu Dhabi stuff. Yeah. Talking about him walking out on doing a fixed fight and stuff. That was badass shit. His was good.
And it's pretty much the only long form interview you can find about the sport of sumo on YouTube. And it's kind of cool that that sport was treated with respect and dignity.
Yeah,
real athletes, real skills, and all that.
Good point.
Have you guys ever seen that sushi and sumo kind of Cirque du Soleil that kind of comes around? It hit all the major cities, so it was $200, 8-course meal of sushi, and there'd be sumo during it. Dude, if it wasn't $200, I was taking my old lady.
I think we all need to save up and do that together.
Dude, that'd be fucking great. Dude, I'm in. I'm Josh, just like you. I'm in.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Herb Dean was really good too. He was episode 207.
That's right. Yeah.
Herb was nervous about coming on.
It took me a while.
That did take a while.
Yeah. Well, part of it is
that
I don't like imposing on my friendship, so that was part of it. But yeah, he had a good time, and he did agree to do another one. I just can't ask too often.
Nah, just do one a year. We do one a year with him,
Yeah. We need to get Mike Beltran. I just attended his black belt promotion, in part because I go way back with him, but also in part because I want to keep that contact because I want to drag him on the show. He'd be a good one.
Yeah, do you know who all right. So when we went to BKFC, went to Miami a couple weeks ago, I shot Mike Brown a text. He invited me to come hang out. Dude, I hung out with Mike Brown for like 2.5 hours at American Top Team. He is just as much of a historian as all of us. Like, he's just as big of a geek. And I saw Abbas Abasov working out there. So Abbas Abasov in the like 17 and under judo world I think he was number 1 in the world at one time. And he's fought for me like 3 different times. He's from Turkmenistan. And I saw him and his dad was like a big like Olympic judo guy. And he's like, dude. And he's like speaking English with me. I'm like, holy shit. I sent him Karim Barkalev's information, like his like Fight Finder stuff. And I'm like, I need you to ask your dad if he can track this guy down. So he shoots me a text a little later. He's like, hey, I asked my dad. He remembers him at competitions, but doesn't know how to get a hold of him because it's different. Like, he's from Dagestan and blah, 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 blah. So I said, all you Muslim cats over there they're all from the same region. I need them to send this to all of their coaches over in the stands. And I got their BKFC tickets, but I need answers. Bro, we got you. He's like, free tickets? We're in. So I think I'm going to try to reach out. I'm going to pick some obscure Dagestani cats. Hopefully they speak English. And I think free BKFC tickets to those guys might help out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But do we get Karim Barkalev? Oh, my God. So Karim Barkalev was in Abu Dhabi in like 98 competing, like in the inaugural one. It was 98 or 99. Had an issue with one of the competitors. And I think it was like a bad decision or something like that. Like, didn't even give the finger, just like kind of like put the hand on the elbow and kind of bent the other arm up. And the sheik goes, wait a minute. That's in my general direction.
Oh.
And the American, it was 99. It was 1999.
And that was against Ricardo Arona.
It was against Ricardo Arona. Josh, you're so fucked up.
You are mentally ill.
You are so fucked up.
Arona was employed by Sheikh Tahoun.
Okay.
And Sheikh Tahoun interpreted Barkalaev's actions as insulting, and the rumor was that they took him out in the desert and might have made him disappear, but apparently he's reserved.
No. So what happened was they were going to do that, and I knew people that were involved in this conversation when I worked for Abu Dhabi. Like, I was fucking nerding out with shit like this, and they said first they were going to put him in jail for a few months, and then the sheik said, let's just not do that. I don't want him in our prisons here. He's going to go back home, but I want the arm. I want the arm so he remembers never to do that and like, or disrespect in, my house and blah, 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 blah. And then the American and like European people had to get involved and convince him not to take the arm.
Take the arm.
Take the arm.
God.
And he was flown back like same day back to wherever he was, like one of the stands. Yeah.
Wow.
So
they weren't just going to break his arm; they were going to take his arm.
Yes. For like a trophy case.
Were they going to perform, a complicated surgery and do it right, or were they just going to hack it with a machete?
Yeah, I have to assume like hand washing stations and all of that would be involved. So I would assume it'd be surgical. It wouldn't be anything barbaric. It wouldn't be anything barbaric.
No, that wouldn't be barbaric. No. Punitive amputation. That's not barbaric. If it's done sanitary.
As long as there's a wash station, it's okay.
Please. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this last year as much as we did. And these guys right here, Josh Campbell, you have shown your mental illness once again. No notes, Josh Campbell, I might add. Tyson Green.
Respect.
I appreciate you. Andrew Mendoza, dude, you and Tyson, you guys, you keep us all together, man. And Joey, you're my guy, man.
Happy to be here.
Anybody got anything else?
2025. Let's get it.
Yeah. Pete Spratt on Saturday. I'll let you guys know if you want to do it. All right. Love you guys. Guys, like, share, subscribe. I mean, if you're this far in and you haven't liked, shared, and subscribed,
hit the fucking button.
Dude,
hit the subscribe button.
Get the fuck off our channel. Get off. We don't need you.
Hit it. It's right there.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much. Take care.
Thanks.
Always a pleasure, buddy.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.